You are watching AI Storytelling, YTS.
They say Windvale Hill is beautiful in the summer. The pines crowd close on either side of the trail, whispering in the wind like they're swapping secrets you're not supposed to hear. Follow the dirt path far enough and you'll find it. A cottage leaning slightly to one side, its paint keeling like old skin, its roof sagging under years of silence. No one lives there now, not since the girl with the red backpack died. Tourists call her the hitchhiker ghost. Locals don't call her anything. They don't talk about her at all. Because if you spend the night in that cottage, sooner or later, you'll hear the slow, steady tread of bare feet pacing the wooden floor above you. And if you hear her whisper your name, it's already too late. Hannah Whitmore was 26, restless, and in love with the idea of being somewhere else. Her friends had long since stopped asking her to settle down. She didn't keep plants. They'd die while she was gone. She didn't date seriously. Hard to, when your idea of romance is a different Airbnb every month. This trip wasn't planned. She'd been scrolling through rental listings one rainy Thursday, sipping coffee that had gone cold, when she saw it. Old Pines Cottage. Perfect for writers and hikers. Remote, private, great views, no neighbors. There was just one photograph. A tilted shot of a hilltop cottage under gray skies. The description was minimal, but the price was low, and Hannah liked the idea of being alone with her thoughts. She arrived in Windvale on a fog-heavy afternoon. The taxi ride up from the station was slow. The road wound through thick forest, the kind where the trees seem older than history. The driver, a man in his 60s, with a face carved by years of weather, barely spoke. When she told him the address, his grip tightened on the wheel. "This far enough," he said, when they reached a bend in the road. "It's still half a mile to the cottage," Hannah said, checking her phone's map. "You walk rest of way," he said flatly, eyes on the rearview mirror instead of her face. "Better that way." When she pressed, he muttered something low, his accent thick enough that she only caught one word. "Stay away." The walk was harder than she expected. The air was thin, and the silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, the kind that presses against your eardrums until you start imagining sounds. The pine trees swayed in a rhythm that didn't match the wind. She had the distinct feeling she wasn't alone, being watched exactly, but noticed. When she finally saw the cottage, it seemed smaller than the photo, crouched on the hilltop, like it was trying to sink into the earth. Up close, it was off. The front steps dipped inward. The windows were too narrow, and the chimney was slightly crooked. Hannah's boots crunched over dead needles as she reached the porch. The key was in the lockbox, just as promised. Inside, the air smelled wrong. Not rotten, but sweet in a way that made her stomach turn, like old flowers left in stagnant water. The furniture looked like it had been arranged by someone who had seen photos of cozy homes, but had never lived in one. There was a couch, a coffee table, a small kitchen, but no books, no personal items, no warmth. The oddest thing was the temperature. It was warmer outside in the November air than inside the cottage. She could see her breath faintly when she exhaled. As she explored, she noticed something peculiar. The layout felt asymmetrical. There was more space inside than seemed possible from the outside, and in one corner of the living room was a warped door she hadn't seen at first glance. It was painted the same dull beige as the walls, and didn't have a visible handle. When she pressed her ear to it, the wood was cold. That night, she made tea in the little kitchen and sat on the couch with her journal. The sound came just after midnight, a slow, measured creak from above her. Her head snapped up. She frowned. The listing had never mentioned a second floor. The sound came again. Creak. Pause. Creak. Not random. Not the shifting of old wood. Footsteps. She told herself it was nothing. But when she went to bed, she locked her bedroom door. The sound woke her again around 3:17 a.m. Footsteps directly over her head, walking in slow, deliberate lines, back and forth. Then silence. Then a heavy thud, as though something had dropped directly above her bed. Hannah didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, she went outside for air. Behind the cottage, the earth was soft from last week's rain. That's when she saw them. Footprints. Bare. Small. Too small for a grown man, but too large for a child. They led from the trees directly to the back wall of the cottage, where there was no door. She walked into town later that day, partly to clear her head, partly to find coffee. The cafe was a small place with lace curtains and a single bored waitress. When Hannah mentioned she was renting the cottage on the hill, the woman froze mid-pour. "You're in that place?" Hannah smiled uneasily. "I guess so." The woman leaned in slightly. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't go upstairs. Ever." When Hannah asked why, the woman only shook her head. She never left. That night, the warped beige door seemed more visible, like it had swelled slightly, as though it had been breathing. Hannah told herself she wasn't the type to get spooked by local ghost stories. She found a small knife in the kitchen. Ridiculous, but it made her feel better. And used the tip to pry at the edge of the door. It swung inward with a reluctant groan. Behind it was a steep, narrow staircase. The wood was darker here, the steps worn smooth in the center from years of use. The air was cold enough to make her teeth ache. The smell, flowers and something faintly metallic, grew stronger with each step. At the top was a single room. It was mostly empty except for an old rocking chair, gently moving though the air was still. A cracked mirror propped against the wall. A large, dark stain on the floorboards. In the corner sat a red backpack, dusty but intact. She crouched beside it, fingertips brushing the canvas. The mirror clouded over, and in its surface, she saw a girl, pale, hair tangled, eyes wide and too dark, her head tilted at an angle that made Hannah's neck ache just to look at it. "You found me," the girl said. But her mouth didn't move. The truth came in fragments, whispered between the flickers of Hannah's failing flashlight. She had been a traveler. Alone. Like Hannah, she'd rented the cottage in the off-season. A man had followed her from town. Someone she thought she could trust. He'd killed her in this room, buried her beneath the floorboards, and she'd been waiting. Hannah bolted for the stairs. The front door wouldn't open. The lock turned, but the wood felt soft under her hands, as though it had been rotting for decades. From upstairs came the creak of the rocking chair, faster now. And then, 2 sets of footsteps. "You don't have to leave," the girl's voice whispered in her mind. "I get lonely." The lights went out. The last thing Hannah saw was a pale hand curling around the doorframe. Weeks later, the listing for Old Pines Cottage was updated. Perfect for solo travelers. Teas in the lockbox. And in the latest tourist whispers, they no longer talk about one girl with a red backpack haunting the hilltop cottage. They talk about 2. Don't forget to share your horror experience in the comments below. And subscribe to AI Storytelling YTS for more videos.